Oh, hey, welcome back. Let's continue today's session starting with cash and cash equivalents. So, what is cash? It is the most liquid asset, um, current asset, and has a normal balance of debit, which decreases on credit transaction. There are three. You can categorize cash in three, which is the cash on hand, cash in bank, and the cash fund. Cash in hand includes undeposited cash collections and other cash items awaiting deposit, such as customer's check, cashier's or manager's checks, traveler's checks, bank drafts, and money orders. Cash in bank includes demand deposit or checking account and saving deposits, which is unrestricted as to withdrawal. Um, Cash fund includes only those set aside for current purposes, such as petty cash fund, payroll, and dividend fund.
We must never forget that cash does not only refer to money or yung pera in itself, but it also includes negotiable instruments that is payable in money and acceptable by the bank for deposit and immediate credit, like checks, bank drafts, and money orders.
So, for example, and also an illustration, um, a customer paid his dues to the company through bank deposit. Cash will be debited, and a credit corresponding account in transaction. This is the illustration. See, let's assume that the customer pays due on January 1, 20x1. So the company's cash would increase, so debit 100,000 and the corresponding credit transaction 100,000 for service revenue. Um when I say corresponding, because it is not really just service revenue. It depends on which industry the company is in. And after that, we now know what cash is and how to simply journalize or record that transaction, cash transactions. Well, now we're on to cash equivalent. So, what is a cash equivalent? It is a short-term, highly liquid investments that are readily convertible into cash and so near, repeat again, so near their maturity that they present insignificant risk of changes in value because of changes in interest rates. So there are two conditions that needs to be met for an asset to be called a cash equivalent. It should be readily convertible, and um the almost due date, or I mean almost maturity item, that there is insignificant risk of changes in value.
The standard further states that only highly liquid investments that are acquired 3 months before the maturity can qualify as cash equivalent. Take note that what important is the date of purchase. It should be 3 months or less before the maturity. Therefore, a 3-year BSP treasury bill that was acquired a year ago cannot qualify as cash equivalent even if its remaining maturity is 3 months or less. Okay? So, hindi porket 3 months na lang magmamature na si investment is cash equivalent siya agad. Tandaan that the 3-month rule for cash equivalent is applied only where the duration is from the date of purchase up to the date of maturity.
And then, so after that, how do we measure cash and statement presentation of cash? So for now, let's talk about how cash is measured. Cash is measured at face value. Cash in foreign currency is measured at the current exchange rate. So we measure cash at face value. face value is when, um, let's say 100 pesos, its face value is still 100 pesos. Um, no change, more or less. And foreign currency, it's measured at current exchange rate, but in presentation, it is supposed to be when your report is dated. Like your report is in 20x1 and in 20x2 the exchange rate is different. During your 20x1 report, you should report foreign currency at that date's exchange rate. And then let's say if a bank or financial institution holding your funds of the entity is in bankruptcy or in financial difficulty, cash in bank should be written down to estimated realizable value. If amount recoverable is estimated to be lower than the face value. 'Di ba meron minsan mga bangko na kunwari nagkaka-struggle sila sa pagba-budget or magfa-file sila ng bankruptcy. Cash in bank ng isang kumpanya, kailangan mo siyang i-estimate sa recoverable amount na makukuha mo, yung insured value. Kasi hindi naman siya puwede talagang ma-recover mo lahat ng naka-deposit sa bangko mo. So, if ever na yung financial institution or bank na pinag-depositan mo ng pera is I'm, in financial struggle, ang recoverable amount lang or yung insured amount ng deposit mo, ang kailangan mong ilagay sa cash in bank. And then, how is cash presented, you may ask? Cash and cash equivalent should be shown as the first line item under the current assets in our statement in the balance sheet. This includes all cash items, yung sinabi ko kanina na may tatlong category, yung cash on hand, cash in bank, cash funds, cash equivalents, sama na din natin, which are unrestricted in current use for current operations. By we mean unrestricted in use is, this means that cash must be readily available in the payment of current obligations and not be subject to any restrictions, contractual or otherwise. Detail, let's start with that. So, yung unrestricted in use, yung cash na dapat handa na siyang puwedeng ipambayad sa mga current current obligations ng isang entity. So, hindi dapat siya subject sa maging restrictions, contractual or otherwise. Yung restrictions sinasabi, kunwari I mean, for example, yung sa bank account mo, yung maintaining balance, that is a restriction for current operations, 'di ba? Hindi mo siya puwedeng galawin and such. And then, in presentation, details compromising cash and cash equivalent should be disclosed in the notes to financial statements. 'Di ba nga sa balance sheet, ang sabi is naka-show siya sa balance sheet as cash and cash equivalent sa first line. Though 'pag sa hindi siya kumpletong kada transaction mo ilalagay. Kunwari, cash in bank ganito, ganito, ganyan, masyado mahaba. So, i-aano mo na lang siya, i-disclose mo siya sa notes to financial statements, yung mga breakdown ng mga cash and cash equivalents. And then, paano 'pag merong excess cash? So, investment of in excess cash. For now, alamin muna natin kung ano excess cash. Ang excess cash ay cash accumulated in excess what is needed for current operations. Yun yung mga nag-profit ka ng more than your estimation, kunwari 20%, that is excess cash for the current year. Then again, accordingly, any excess cash should be invested even temporarily in some type of revenue earning investment. Kasi it is not really good to keep excess cash in a company. Parang ano siya, something sa mga investors na parang, something wrong, not really wrong, something like hindi nila gusto na may excess cash talaga ang isang kumpanya.
I would just like to clarify, hindi mali na may sobrang pera ang isang entity. Actually, maganda nga that they have more than what they need for operations. But when we are talking about cash management, it is not right to keep that large excess of cash in idle. That is why entities put it in temporary investments instead of just keeping it in banks so that it would earn income and that would be more beneficial to them. Now, the question is, what would we do with that temporary investment? Should we report it as part of cash equivalent or not? Well, the answer is it depends on the terms, no? If excess cash is invested in time deposit, money market instruments, or treasury bills, the actual cash invested shall be reported as cash equivalent if the term is 3 months or less. So for example, if the excess cash is invested in a time deposit, if 3 months lang pwede mo nang ma-withdraw si time deposit, then you should report it as part of cash equivalent. But if the terms is more than 3 months but less than a year, it should be reported as current asset, but instead of being part of cash equivalent, it should be reported as part of short-term investments. And lastly, if its terms is more than 1 year, then it should be classified as non-current asset under the account long-term investments.
And for now, that is all that I will talk about. And the next part shall be discussed by the other lecturer. Thank you for reaching up to this point. And yeah,